Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Welcome back everybody, it is a pleasure to have you once again, and if you are joining for the first time, welcome to the second installment of the great Star Wars Throwback project. Because of the new trilogy that is now coming out in theaters, it is only appropriate that I finally got myself to sit down and watch all 6 of the Star Wars films that came previously, and give you guys an honest review, because it has been some time, and Star Wars is definitely a big part of my childhood and my love for movies, so it was only appropriate after conquering other ground like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and soon many others to follow. We really had to get down and talk about Star Wars. So, we are going to be talking about the second installment in the saga from 2002, and that, of course, is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, starring a fantastic cast including Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor, newcomer Hayden Christensen, Ian McDiarmid, Samuel L. Jackson, Frank Oz, Anthony Daniels, of course, as the great C-3PO, and Sir Christopher Lee showing up after doing Lord of the Rings in that trilogy, as well as another newcomer to the scene, Tamora Morrison, who played a character that I think a lot of us were really looking forward to actually seeing in the Star Wars universe, and that was Jango Fett, who in fact is the beginning of the origin story of one of the greatest and most beloved, mysterious characters in the Star Wars universe, Boba Fett. So, we fast forward a couple of years later, and of course Anakin Skywalker is now an apprentice to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's learning the ways of the Force to become a Jedi Knight and Master, and there are a couple of interesting things happening. It's definitely changed since The Phantom Menace. There is now a group of star systems that are breaking away from the Republic to go and create a separatist movement, and the Jedis notice that they are definitely not going to be able to keep the peace between these two soon-to-be warring systems. So someone had suggested that we have to get a great army of the Republic just in case these separating galaxies choose to attack, because there has already been a great deal of attacks trying to kill now Senator Padme Amidala. And because of this, it is also time to reunite Anakin with Padme, and of course, this was the moment in Star Wars history that a lot of Star Wars fans were looking forward to seeing. The way that Anakin and Padme would fall in love and eventually give birth to their twins, Luke and Leia, and more importantly, the beginning of the Clone Wars, and, of course, a little bit more of the story unfolding for Anakin Skywalker finding the dark side and turning into Darth Vader. So, what can I say about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace? It is definitely not a fan favorite. A lot of people despise it because it was just poorly done, poorly constructed with CGI and less practical effects, horrible dialogue, and of course everybody hates Jar Jar Binks, but that's neither here nor there. But of course, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. This was also something that I was really looking forward to, just to see the completion of this chapter of Star Wars history that we have all been waiting for years. Attack of the Clones was also a landmark achievement for me in terms of going to see films, because it was my first midnight Star Wars premiere, and it was the first time that I ever saw a movie in theaters in all digital. I do remember going into the theaters and having a great time, especially with certain scenes that we will go into later. But as the years have gone by, I'm sure that you'll all be thrilled to hear this. This is not a good movie, everybody. It's not. I mean, it is definitely the worst of all the Star Wars movies as far as I'm concerned. I actually think that Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, has a little bit more of a fun factor. But granted, there are still some very good things to be had here. But let's talk about the bad first. As important as the story of Episode 2 is, the dialogue is so poorly written. The acting, especially from the important characters in this story, are just god-awful. I mean, this is like a Shakespeare story gone wrong. George Lucas cannot write dialogue. He is a fantastic storyteller. He doesn't skimp on details in regards to putting story plots together, but when it comes to characters interacting, he just cannot do it, and his script doesn't help at all. I guarantee you that even if you put William Shakespeare's brain into George Lucas's head, the muscles in his arms and the rest of his body are just not even going to allow that brain to produce something good, because this is just George Lucas, and this is what George Lucas does. Also, because of the fact that the love story is so poorly told, there's also so many things that happen in the movie that you're just so uninterested in, because the movie has practically put you to sleep. Now, granted, there are some very interesting things to see. I thought that the best part was seeing how young Jedi are being taught, and it made so much more sense when I look at Empire Strikes Back, when Obi-Wan's spirit tells Luke that Yoda was the Jedi that instructed me. Well, we now know why that is possible. Apparently, Yoda taught all Jedi at one point, so that was pretty cool. I thought that some of the moments with the special effects were really fantastic. I thought that the speeder chase in Coruscant's night sky was tremendously entertaining. I thought seeing how the Caminos created the clones was a very interesting piece of the story. And don't even get me started on the first battle of Geonosis in the Clone Wars, where the Republic army fights the droid army, and of course it leads to one of the most amazing moments in all of Star Wars history, and that is Yoda fighting with a lightsaber. Don't even deny the fact that you thought that when you saw that moment for the first time, you thought it was cool and you wanted so much more. Also, on top of that, there are so many things that are just plain old filler in this movie, because yes, the story is important in regards to the romance between Anakin and Padme, but there is just not enough in this movie to really give you a continuing and interesting plot. I thought that the chase scene between the Slave One and Obi-Wan's vessel was so boring. I thought that the gladiator moment of this film was so unnecessary, not to mention Anakin, Padme, C-3PO, and R2-D2 running through the droid army factory on Geonosis, though it was pretty cool to see R2-D2 with some rocket boosters. There is a very powerful score from John Williams in this film. I do think that some of his best work in Star Wars is in this movie, because while the love story may be pathetic, the score of the love theme is absolutely stunning and beautiful, and it is just such an incredible piece of music. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like a Star Wars song, but I absolutely love it. And when Anakin comes back to Tatooine to look for his mother, I love how the score goes from the binary sunset and goes right into Duel of the Fates, because it is so appropriate to have that. And when you first see Anakin unleash some of the dark side, it is definitely a scary moment. I will say, however, when it comes to the romance between Anakin and Padme, while the acting is absolutely horrible, there is still one scene that I really do enjoy. When the two of them are sitting in the field and they're talking politics, I really thought that there was some realism, some interest to them, because they actually were engaging each other very well. The script didn't feel so fabricated. I really liked that scene. I thought it was really cool, and definitely something that will foreshadow the Star Wars movies to come. Although, if you haven't seen these Star Wars movies yet, I think that that's a shame, and you really need to change that. But also, I want to personally say that when it comes to the overall acting, I mean, I don't know why they chose Hayden Christensen to do this. I mean, Ewan McGregor did with what he had. I thought that Natalie Portman, from an acting standpoint, was a little bit better. I thought that Frank Oz as Yoda had some really cute moments. There were some typical Samuel L. Jackson moments as Mace Windu. I thought Tamura Morrison was pretty good. I mean, obviously, this was a launching pad for him, because he has been in a couple more movies afterwards. Some of that includes him as Abin Sur from the Green Lantern live-action film, and speaking of DC, he will be playing Aquaman's human father next winter in the Aquaman full-length film, so that's pretty cool. But I don't really know what to say in regards to Hayden Christensen. I mean, when you take a look at Darth Vader in the Star Wars films afterwards, he is very one-dimensional, and he does kind of not really have any emotion. So for Anakin, I don't know whether Hayden Christensen was told not to show that much emotion or be so flat like a cardboard. I don't know, but whatever it was, it is what it is. And honestly, because of all of these missteps that Attack of the Clones has, I really feel that while it does keep the story moving, and while there are some small moments of this film that I really do enjoy watching, it really is not a good movie at all. So in terms of giving this movie a rating, I am going to give Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, a 1.5 stars out of 4. Ironically, I actually thought it was better at some point in time than Episode 1, but at this point, after seeing it numerous times, it is definitely the worst in all of Star Wars. So that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for sitting down and listening to me talk about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I'm looking forward to Memorial Day 2018 and Christmas 2018 when I review Episodes 3 and 4. So have a wonderful new year, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.